It is very much in the national interest of US to try to contain the aggression precipitated by Modi in the form of Indian proxy attacks happening in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and now in Sri Lanka. What Modi has done is Modi has used Afghanistan as its proxy ground to wage a war on the western border of Pakistan in order to create his Hindu land from Afghanistan to Myanmar. And how it is affecting the US is that US has to advance Modi's agenda of a Hindu land in Afghanistan at the cost of US Marines and at the cost of trillions of dollars of US economy that has hemorrhaged in maintaining status quo in Afghanistan. And the result is a next to impossible exit of the US Marines from Afghanistan, leading to continuous hemorrhage of not just precious lives of the US soldiers that are dying not for US but for Modi's Hindu land, and also the loss of trillions of dollars of US economy, precipitating recession in US at just because Modi wants his Hindu land. So it is very much in the national interest of US to try to contain Modi's aggression, tell Modi to stop doing any more proxy attacks in Pakistan or in Afghanistan, and to kick Modi out of Afghanistan, to end Modi's leverage in Afghanistan, to be able to have a safe exit from Afghanistan in order to bring peace, not just for Afghanistan and US, but for the rest of the world. It is very much in the interest of Russia and China to try to get rid of Modi in Afghanistan and to kick Modi out of Afghanistan. It is very much in the interest of China and Russia because of the One Belt, One Road project that is led by China, and that is an economic model of prosperity for the entire region that is going to improve the livelihoods of millions of people living in the territories. The only problem is that Modi wants his Hindu land in the territory, and Modi is willing to go to every extent possible, even if Modi has to incite more proxy terrorist attacks against Pakistanis, against Afghans, and even against Sri Lankans to achieve his Hindu land. So this Hindu land ambition of Modi is sabotaging the entire trillion-dollar project of China, that is One Belt, One Road. And why Russia should be worried? Because Russia has high stakes of interest in Afghanistan. And if Afghanistan is unsafe and insecure and destabilized, and Russia is not able to keep its interests safe in Afghanistan because of that, because of the destabilization and the insecurity, and because of the constant proxy terrorism incited by the raw agents through the Kabul regime against the civilians, as we have seen, the result is going to be total chaos, and the result is going to be total loss of commercial, total loss of economic interests of both China and Russia. And the other thing from the religious point of view that I've come to notice is that Putin is an Orthodox Christian. And what we are seeing is a significant rise in hate crimes against the Christians in India, and forceful conversions of Christians to Hinduism going on right now in India. And recently we saw the massacre of so many Christians in Sri Lanka. And we're also seeing these staged attacks against the Christian minorities in Pakistan by raw-mediated terrorism. So if Putin wants to safeguard the interests of the Christians and Christianity in this territory, he will have to come to the rescue of these Christians and try to kick Modi out or contain his aggression. I know that he's a big buddy of Modi, but I think it's about time he should tell his buddy to stop inciting so much violence against the Christian community living in this territory in his greedy, in his deadly pursuit of a Hindu land. United Nations just issued a report saying that the US mediated war in Afghanistan in collaboration with India and in collaboration with the dummy regime in Kabul has caused the loss of 305 civilians, which is way more than the damage and the carnage done by the Talibans themselves. So what is going wrong over here? Why are the US forces killing Afghan civilians in Afghanistan when their role is to fight against terrorists and not against the Afghan civilians? And why is it that this is a recurring pattern? I think one of the biggest reasons is that the whole operation is totally dominated by the deep state that is currently governing the foreign policy of the United States, and that is making the US collaborate with dangerous allies like India that are using the resources of the US forces against the local civilians for their own vested interests, because they want to create a destabilized Afghanistan so as to initiate a perpetual cycle of war that will convince the US Marines to continue to stay in Afghanistan, even if it endangers their lives and even if it continues to hemorrhage trillions of dollars of economy for US. And I think it is wrong intel that is mediated by such forces like the Indian forces. The RAW is manipulating big time in Afghanistan, totally using the land of Afghanistan as its own proxy ground to continue a perpetual cycle of destabilization that will work well for the creation of a Hindu land in the region, but that will not work for the safety of the US Marines, that will not work for the economy of US, and that will not work for the national interests of US. So I think it is about time that the US looked back, including the American civilians, and created a strong campaign against this ongoing slaughter of civilians in Afghanistan in their name, because every civilian that is killed in Afghanistan leads to the creation of more terrorists that are against US. We always have to remember this thing. This has already been written up by the leading think tanks and experts on defense strategy, that the more civilian damage you do, especially in the drone attacks, we saw that happen, that the more civilians you kill as collateral damage, the more enemies you're going to make and the more terrorism you're going to proliferate. And this is exactly what happened when the drones were in fashion. We saw a huge escalation of violence. So if we want to have peace, we have to eliminate all these negative factors like India, like Modi, who are interested in creating an agenda of their own at the cost of American interests, at the cost of lives of American people, and not just at the cost of the lives of the local civilians of Afghanistan. The foreign policy of the United States does not work for the benefit of the Americans. The foreign policy of the United States, it works for the benefit of the military-industrial complex that benefits just a few members of the elite by selling more weapons for profits. But these wars that are waged by US kill Americans themselves and hemorrhage trillions in dollars of their economy. And this is what we have seen in the last few decades, that Americans have lost their lives, their Marines have lost their lives, and they have lost trillions in dollars of their economy for the wars that were not even theirs. We saw the Iraq war that happened because Dick Cheney wanted to own the oil fields of Iraq, and because the MIC wanted to sell more weapons. And now we are seeing a Modi-led crusade, unholy crusade happening to convert the entire region into a Hindu land at the cost of the US Marines, whose lives are jeopardized and in grave danger in Afghanistan, who are technically playing a war for the sake of Indian Hindu land in Afghanistan that has no benefit to the Americans whatsoever, but that is continuously hemorrhaging money for the American people. And this has to stop. The Americans have to stand up and say no more. The Americans have to get up and tell Modi to get out of Afghanistan and to stop manipulating their military, their intelligence, their resources, forcing them to go to a war that is not even theirs to begin with. Americans, why should you want to have a Hindu land in Afghanistan? And if you are a Christian majority country, do you even know what Modi is doing to Christians in India? And do you know how many Christians have been massacred by raw mediated terrorism in Pakistan? This has been confirmed and proven and has been already publicly confessed by not just Chuck Hagel, who's your award-winning American politician, but also by Kulbhushan Yadav, who is a raw agent and who actually was found red-handed planting terrorism using Afghan soil as a proxy ground against Pakistan and attacking Christian minorities. So it is very important for the Americans to stand up and rise and tell India to back off and stop abusing them, stop abusing their resources, stop abusing their military, stop abusing their people, the US Marines, and stop using their economy for the sake of advancing its fascist Hindu land agenda. Thank you very much. One of the biggest fears that Americans have is about the regional growing dominance of China. And one of the things that forces them to collaborate with Modi is out of fear and phobia of this regional expanding influence of China. But think about the economic implications for Americans if US became a strong trade partner of China in this One Belt, One Road initiative. Think about how much economic benefit the Americans could have in this strong alliance, in this economic breakthrough project of China that China has offered to the rest of the world. So think positive instead of thinking negative, and use it as an opportunity for your economic benefits instead of creating negativity, instead of thinking about war, instead of thinking about allying with people like Modi who can't think beyond the creation of a Hindu land. And as far as Russia is concerned, I strongly believe that there is a strong trade partnership potential there present if probed by the people of Russia and by the people of US between Russia and United States. You have to now think beyond war. You have to think beyond weapons. You have to think beyond destruction, because the world has already seen so much of catastrophe. The world has already seen so much of chaos. And this is not the kind of legacy you would like to leave for your children, of wars, of destruction, of darkness, because the weapons that are being built today are not going to kill just your enemy. They're going to just evaporate the entire planet, making it non-viable even for you yourself.